So in another jam-packed week of all things tech, the Vision Pro turns 1 year old this week. Apple announced a brand new Invites app kind of out of nowhere, and there's a little bit of confusion as to what this T-Mobile Starlink satellite SOS feature for the iPhone really means. So without further ado, let's get into it and talk about everything new that happened this week. So let's briefly go over the Apple Invites app because that was the big major announcement coming directly from Apple, where we now have a first-party app that is completely free to download for all iOS and even non-iOS users with a little bit of a caveat. So the Invites app is exactly what it sounds like. It's about an event management application where you can create events, invite your friends, invite your loved ones, your coworkers, set a time, set a place, and everything that you would want to have happen when it comes to event management, especially when it comes to personal, but even some professional use as well. And a lot of people are saying that the design language is kind of a little peek into what iOS 19 can look like because we see a lot of this glass and transparent and translucent type of UI, which is very reminiscent of the Vision Pro and Vision OS. But as I said, if you are just receiving invites, it's completely free, with or without the app, so you can confirm, set a yes, RSVP, set a maybe, even though you do not have the app. So that means that even Android users can receive invites from Apple Invites applications. It'll just have to be through a web-based experience. And then to be able to actually send invites and create these events inside of Apple Invites, you do need to be an iCloud Plus subscriber, which you might already be an iCloud subscriber, you just don't really know about it. As long as you are physically paying for any additional iCloud kind of storage service, so anything above the 5 gigs of storage service, you are an iCloud Plus member. So that includes the 200 gig service, but also includes things like Apple One Premiere. So if you are subscribed to that, then you do have iCloud Plus, which includes things like the private relay, as well as a custom domain, and now includes being able to create these events through Apple's Invite app. So I do suggest checking out our video, completely walking through it down below, and maybe try it out if it's something that you do want to get into. And let me know what you think about this application. Was it needed? Was it worth it? Is it a little bit weird that it looks like some other applications in the App Store? Let's talk about it in the comments below. Now for the next couple topics, it's going to be about the Vision Pro, with the first thing being, and a quick one, is that it's now in the Veteran Store of the Apple Store. So if you guys do want to pick it up for a 10% discount, it is now available through the Veteran Store, being at about $31.50 from a price point as opposed to $3,500 for a starting price. But in that same light, and to kind of segue into the next form, is going to be that Apple officially has begun M5 chip production. So what is that going to mean for the end user? It means that we're now going to be getting M5 machines, with the most common ones being the MacBook Pro, the iPad Pro, but most importantly the Vision Pro, because with the Vision Pro as it stands right now, it is a year old, and it currently has the M2 chip. And you might have noticed, I mean, there aren't too many Vision OS users out there right now. For as powerful as it is and as game-changing as it really is, it still does not have any Apple Intelligence implementation. And you might ask the question as to why this is, because M2 powered machines, aside from the Vision Pro, are able to run Apple Intelligence, but it's because the allocation of RAM and power and efficiency that's being used to run Vision OS, there just isn't really enough left over to run all the Apple Intelligence features. So the M5 chip going into a new version of the Vision Pro, or maybe just a spec updated version of the Vision Pro, will ideally allow it to not only run obviously Vision OS, but then also run all the Apple Intelligence features next to it. And I think this is a big deal because especially now with competition from things like Project Muhan from the Samsung side, being able to use things like Google Gemini and Google Assistant built in there, now I think Apple really needs to include Apple Intelligence just to make your life a lot easier, especially when your input is basically your voice, your eyeballs, and then your finger tapping, right? You don't have a keyboard, a mouse, or even your touch interface really to interact with Vision OS like you do a normal computer, so having a strong AI assistant is going to be extremely beneficial to those people in the Vision Pro world. So you might have seen in my previous episode last week that Starlink and T-Mobile partnered up together to provide some additional services outside of T-Mobile's normal scope from a data coverage standpoint. So basically, if you've ever had the SOS feature show up on your iPhone, meaning that you're out of actual data connectivity, you will then be able to tap into Starlink's kind of connectivity and their Wi-Fi and data to be able to send distress signals, but even things like regular text messages and things of that nature. But this is not a partnership between Apple and Starlink. This just so happens to be that because the iPhone is able to connect to any kind of cell tower or any sort of data connectivity, it will now be able to connect to Starlink satellites in the correct situations because it's offered through T-Mobile. So it's not really a direct connection to Starlink, it's kind of the iPhone connecting through T-Mobile and then being segued into the actual Starlink connectivity when it is needed. So there is no formal partnership between Starlink and Apple, and there was nothing done to your Apple device with that 18.3 update that automatically turned on Starlink, and now Elon Musk and Tesla and Starlink are all up in your phone. That is not the case. It is just a matter of when you're outside of cell signal and you're a T-Mobile carrier or a T-Mobile customer, you will be able to tap into Starlink connectivity to send out some additional messages. And then the last bit of news before we get into our product of the week, it's going to be all about AppleCare Plus and AppleCare, which is Apple's warranty service. So if you do lose or break or something happens to your phone, you're able to replace it at a fraction of the cost compared to getting fully replaced or having to fully pay up front for a brand new iPhone. So as of about a week ago, you always had two options. You could always pay upfront for the full 2 years of AppleCare coverage, and it usually came at a wholesale discount compared to paying it on a monthly basis. But now the only way to do this moving forward, to pay that upfront cost to kind of save yourself a little bit of money long term, is to buy an iPhone online in order to get AppleCare at that price point. If you go to a retailer or you go anywhere else that offers AppleCare as an add-on, it is now going to be a monthly price, and not only that, but they increased it by 50 cents. So it's something to take note of if you are an AppleCare holder or subscriber or user when it comes to adding AppleCare to your iPhone or any Apple device moving forward. And then to round off the week, I finally got my hands on Satechi's brand new M4 Mac Mini Hub, which does provide an additional 3 USB-A ports, with 2 of them being 3.2 Gen 2 ports, and then 1 of them being a regular everyday USB-A port. You also get an additional SD card reader, which is UHS 2, and it's a 4.0 reader, which is one of the higher speeds right now out there, which gives you about 312 megabytes per second from a transfer speed perspective. And I love the design language of it. I do have a full article online, it'll probably show up in a couple other videos, so I'll leave that link down below if you guys want to check it out. I'm just a huge fan of what Satechi's been doing with their M4 Mac Mini Hub, because I was an owner of the previous Mac Mini Hub for the old form factor, and now it just kind of adds an additional 3 USB-A ports, which for me is great for additional peripherals that I use when it comes to using dongles and things like that. But that'll do it for this week when it comes to Apple news and all things tech related. Like you saw, there was a lot of things that were happening moving forward, like the Apple Invites app, the Vision Pro stuff, M5 getting into production, and of course the Starlink debacle of people thinking that Apple all of a sudden put Starlink in their iPhones with the 18.3 update, which is not true. So definitely if you haven't updated to 18.3, I say do so, just for security standpoint purposes at this point. But that'll do it, everybody. If you made it to the end, leave a little dolphin in the comments down below so I know you made it to the end. And if you want to watch more videos like this one, definitely check out one of these videos right here. And until next time, I'm Fernando, and I'm out, everybody. Peace.